Okay, next, details on implementing net zero on campus. Obviously, you have to look at it by areas where net zero can happen. So best practices and resources to implement net zero campus initiatives are looked at here. So this section of the guide addresses how practical initiatives to reduce emissions can be implemented on campus, from reducing energy demand, not just increasing efficiency, but actually reducing use of energy itself, to electrification of vehicle fleets, which may be more difficult in some countries than others, and planning for a circular economy, among others. So electrification of vehicle fleets also often means having charging stations on campus, or for staff who are coming from outside, make sure they can cover the distance. Range anxiety always gets people. In most universities or colleges, the biggest source of emissions is the consumption of fossil fuel based energy, followed by mobility. Most of the initiatives presented in this guide address these key categories. However, emissions arising from other sources such as facilities, waste management, and procurement have also been covered, so scope 3 as well. It's important to note that emissions across the whole spectrum are to be addressed to achieve a net zero campus. This section also includes initiatives outside the campus boundaries. So the areas include energy at the top, which is what is driving the entire climate change problem in terms of our energy intensive lifestyles and the carbon footprints of the energy. Mobility, transportation is always critical in terms of fossil fuel use other than buildings, industries, and so on. Facilities, which run all the systems including waste and recycling, value chain, and beyond campus operations. Okay, so the distribution pattern of partial carbon emissions impacts at 18 universities. So energy consumption is shown in red, orange, and yellow. Mobility impacts in blue, green, and white, and other impacts. So you can see the scales here. So university and country, I won't read all the details, but you have Germany, Ireland, Chile, Global South, Mexico City, Belgium, Germany, Singapore. GB is got to be Leicester, Great Britain, Melbourne, Australia, Belgium, Australia, Great Britain, Cape Town, South Africa, Republic of South Africa, here Switzerland, USA doesn't include, other than Chile, doesn't seem to, and Mexico City doesn't include too many Global South places. But here you have energy. This is in terms of percentages. So you have mobility covering quite a bit, and further impacts here at the end. So you have electricity and heat, electricity itself, heat, and heating with gas, which obviously is a big item for mid-latitude or high-latitude countries. And in fact, this discussion comes up all the time, that there is a lot of focus on air conditioning, and that obviously goes to tropical countries, global south countries, but actually heating costs and heating energy use is much higher in most cases, so we have to worry about that. So you have transport, campus-wide, campus vehicles, all commuting, student commuting, staff commuting, all business trips, people traveling to meetings, etc., internet, business trips, international business trips, domestic trips trips, fresh and wastewater, office supplies like paper, chemicals, gases, detergents, all waste materials. These are the kind of details you need to carry, so that once you have your percentage of energy use in different areas, you know where to reduce energy demand. Okay, so looking here again at energy, mobility, and facilities, I've split it into two just to make them readable. So reduce campus energy demand, so energy efficiency is very important, and implementing energy conservation programs as well as energy management systems and smart appliances. Replace fossil fuel dependent appliances. This is not always easy, neither is it possible unless technology is available. And this comes to, again, global north versus south. If global north develops technologies, will it share easily with the global south? That's always an issue. Under energy, again, you have established campus microgrids. Again, as an innovation, this is a great idea, but if you need permissions from the utility companies or the government to have your own grids, then what happens? Installing battery energy storage is always important for managing intermittency and digitalization and smart grids, but there is also the overarching idea of using early warning systems to managing all these areas. For example, can you better manage energy intermittency of solar and wind by having early warning systems? There is research going on, and there is faculty actually consulting with utility companies on forecasting for energy. Can we then apply it to the campus itself? Okay, source renewable energy. So implementing renewable energy purchase agreements or on campus installations and putting back on the grid. Creating demand for renewable energy supply in the local grid as well. Okay, so let me read the mobility one. Encourage sustainable commuter travel. This is again depends on the availability of public transportation, shown here as a train or a bus. Implementing bike share programs with end-up strip facilities in terms of parking and charging if it's a e-bike and so on. Lobbying for, or just access through apps and how to pay for them. Lobbying for better public transport or active transport facilities to campus for outsiders. Building enabling infrastructure for walking and cycling within campus, which is very important because lots of bicycles running around, but if you have a lot of traffic, then you have issues. Giving incentives for sustainable travel. This happens in terms of giving free passes for using metros and so on. Reduce the need for staff and students to travel to campus, so work from home or virtual attendance when possible. And charging for private vehicle usage on campus. I really sorry about that. I really like that idea, because especially as the middle class grows, there is a tendency to drive too much, but you have to be sure that charging for private vehicles doesn't penalize poor people who have no option. Facilities, so replace energy intensive equipment, so HVAC and other systems like gas with electricity. Electrification is always good, but one has to remember that source of electric energy has to be going down in fossil fuels and increasing in renewables as well. Retrofit campus buildings, so this is something that needs economic viability studies to say if you invest in installing smart HVAC systems or building shared office and low footprint spaces, retrofitting existing building stock to increase energy efficiency and so on, how long does it take for you to recover the upfront cost involved in retrofitting itself? And there you have to again count for non-market goods in terms of impacts on health, air quality, water quality, standard of living, productivity, and so on. Under mobility, we also have transition to a zero emissions vehicle fleet and implement sustainable business travel. Offsetting is done a lot, but just reducing travel itself can work a lot by having online meetings. But COVID has taught us many things about how useful it is to work from home and have online meetings, and how indispensable it is to also have in-person meetings for innovation, brainstorming, and so on and so forth. So encouraging virtual meetings, conferences, public modes when available for travel, and using airline carbon offset as a last resort if you must travel, etc. And under facilities, again, you have construct new sustainable buildings, so incorporating sustainable building practices and policies, reusing existing buildings and materials to reduce building waste, including green infrastructure and green spaces on campus. Okay, so to wrap that up, I think that's the first part. Waste minimization and recycling, no regret decisions here. We must do this. Participate in a circular economy. So this itself needs data to make sure that we are reviewing waste contracts and encouraging behavior change programs to support the initiatives, and assessing and replacing single-use materials. So seeing plastic trash on campus is always very sad and disappointing. Implement material recovery on campus, so share schemes and networks for waste recovery and donation, and composting schemes. So when you have residential schools like IIT Bombay and so many people living on campus, including staff, you have a lot of food wastage, so composting is always important. Value chain, implement sustainable procurement practices, so you have to influence suppliers as well to make them remember that you are a net zero campus, and purchase offsets, so using verified carbon offsets and offsets in parallel with emissions reductions are always very important. Finally, beyond campus operation, act as an amplifier of change. Magnifying knowledge and expertise to influence change is what education institutions must be doing. It's even better when you practice it before preaching. Acting as living labs, which we mentioned. So living labs are spaces where you have ability to go learn, implement things, study things, do experiments, and then bring out the lessons and codify them into implementation on campus as well as share with outsiders. Testing solutions at scale on campus and in local communities. Convening and connecting key stakeholders, and engage with student bodies. Embedding students' engagement in decarbonization initiatives is very important, because you want to also have them inculcate the idea of a decarbonized life. Enabling student-led sustainability leadership groups. You can have competitions and incentives on who wins sustainability activities. Supporting student-led initiatives and innovation on campus. There is a lot of interest in everybody dreaming about startups finding solutions, so what better opportunity than to use net zero on campus as an innovation ecosystem. Encourage net zero aligned education, research and innovation, providing meaningful experiential learning opportunities for students, supporting research and innovation from staff and students in the university and external context. So you may have a lot of corporations coming in and wanting to do this with you on campus as well. Okay, so let me stop this here. It's about 12 minutes. We'll come back and follow up on energy as an area where we can drive net zero actions as well. Okay.